prepared for, but also the potential opportunities that exist in teaching through a second language have not necessarily been realized in the immersion context. And let me give you an example, a concrete example of what I mean. We had colleagues of mine and I had a fairly large project going in the 1980s called the Development of Bilingual Proficiency, where we looked at a number of different contexts, students from Portuguese language backgrounds in the Toronto area were one group that was involved in this, French immersion programs were another. And when we looked at our observations of instruction in French immersion programs, we were looking at grade 5 as far as I know, so 10, 11-year-old students. And at that stage, typically it's the same teacher who's teaching in both English and French parts of the day, and it's a 50-50 program. What we found was that in the English part of the day, there was a lot of very exciting pedagogy going on. Students were carrying out projects. There was a focus on students doing research, getting involved in inquiry. There was a lot of student talk. There was a lot of group work going on, and all of which is fairly typical of elementary school or primary school programs in Canada. But when we looked at what was happening in the French part of the day, and remember it's the same teacher, the focus was on French, particularly French grammar, teaching vocabulary, sometimes out of context, doing fill-in-the-blank exercises, and very little student talk. And so when we asked the teachers, what's going on here? Why is there such a difference in the French part of the day as compared to the English part of the day? The answer was always the same. If we let students work in groups in the French part of the day, they're going to use English, and we don't want that. That's not our philosophy in the immersion program. We want to keep it in French. But what was suffering was the quality of education. And so that when we look at what happened, or what has happened in the French immersion programs, in some cases, I don't want to generalize to all, but in quite a number of programs, the focus has been on getting students to acquire appropriate forms of French, and in fact not very successfully. Whereas the focus on providing a high quality, engaging education where students are developing higher order thinking skills and doing powerful things with the second language, that's somehow got lost along the way. And that's what I want to focus on, because I think when we look at the Spanish programs, CLIL programs, there's a danger that the same thing might happen, that we focus in the English part of the day, we focus on getting students to learn the language, we focus on transmitting how the language works, but we maybe push what we want to do as educators into the background. And so I should say something about the PowerPoint that I'm going to use first. There's way too much language on here, so don't try